The summer morning of June 21, 1982 started like any other day in London, but it would end as one of the most important days in British history. Inside the private Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital, Princess Diana was preparing to give birth to her first child. Outside, hundreds of reporters and photographers waited in the heat, their cameras ready to capture the first glimpse of the future king. Prince Charles paced nervously in the hospital corridor, adjusting his tie every few minutes. He had attended classes about childbirth, but nothing could prepare him for this moment. The weight of producing an heir to the throne made everything feel more intense. This baby would one day rule over millions of people across Britain and the Commonwealth countries. When the baby boy finally arrived at 9:03 in the evening, the doctors immediately noticed his strong cry and healthy appearance. Princess Diana held her son close to her chest, tears of joy streaming down her face. The baby had thick dark hair and bright blue eyes that seemed to look directly at everyone around him. Prince Charles touched his son's tiny hand and felt overwhelmed by love and responsibility. The first person to announce the birth was a town crier who stood outside the hospital gates. He rang his bell and shouted the traditional words that had been used for centuries. A son is born to their royal highnesses, the Prince and Princess of Wales. The crowd cheered and sang God Save the Queen. Church bells began ringing across London and throughout Britain. Queen Elizabeth I received the news while she was at Windsor Castle. Her private secretary knocked on her door and delivered the message with a formal bow. The Queen smiled quietly and asked to see her new grandson as soon as possible. She understood that this baby would one day wear the same crown that she had worn for over 30 years. The baby prince was given 4 names during his christening ceremony. William came first, after several kings before him. Arthur honored the legendary King Arthur. Philip came from his grandfather, Prince Philip. Louis remembered Lord Louis Mountbatten, who had been like a grandfather to Prince Charles. Each name carried the weight of royal history and expectations. Princess Diana insisted on doing many things differently with her son. Previous royal babies had been cared for mainly by nannies and seen by their parents only at scheduled times. Diana wanted to feed William herself and change his diapers. She carried him around the palace and talked to him constantly. Prince Charles sometimes found them both asleep together in the nursery. As William grew from a baby into a toddler, his personality began to show. He was curious about everything and loved to explore. The palace staff had to baby-proof rooms that had never needed such protection before. William would crawl under tables where important government meetings took place and pull on the curtains in rooms where foreign ambassadors visited. His toys were a mixture of ordinary things and royal treasures. He played with wooden blocks and teddy bears like any child, but he also had a miniature throne and tiny military uniforms. Sometimes he would wear a paper crown made from newspaper and march around the palace gardens pretending to be a soldier. Princess Diana often took William to regular places that royal children had rarely visited before. They went to McDonald's for lunch and to public playgrounds where he could play with other children. She wanted him to understand that he would one day serve people from all walks of life, so he needed to know how they lived. The young prince showed early signs of the responsibility he would carry. Even as a small child, he seemed to understand when adults were talking about serious matters. He would sit quietly and listen, his blue eyes taking in every word. Palace staff noticed that he never threw tantrums like other children his age, as if he instinctively knew that he was different. Queen Elizabeth I watched her grandson carefully during family gatherings. She saw in his serious moments and playful laughter the qualities that would one day make him a good king. The crown was still decades away, but already the future was taking shape in the form of a little boy who would grow up to embody the true splendor of royal duty and service. The ancient stone buildings of St Andrews University in Scotland had witnessed many love stories over the centuries, but none quite like the one that began in September 2001. Prince William arrived on campus trying to blend in with other students, but his bodyguards and the curious stares made that nearly impossible. He had chosen St Andrews partly because it was far from London and the constant attention of the press. In the same freshman class was a girl named Catherine Elizabeth Middleton from the small village of Bucklebury in Berkshire. Her friends called her Kate, and she came from a middle-class family that had built a successful party planning business. Catherine was tall and athletic with long brown hair and a confident smile. She had worked hard to get into university and was excited to study art history. The two students first met during their orientation week in Cis Salvator's Hall where they both lived. William was nervous about making friends who liked him for himself rather than his royal title. Catherine treated him like any other student, never asking for autographs or trying to impress him with royal knowledge. She would later admit that she went bright red when she first met him and could barely speak. During their first year, William and Catherine became friends through their shared love of sports and outdoor activities. They both joined the water polo team and would spend hours in the university pool practicing. Catherine was an excellent swimmer and often beat William in races, which impressed him because most people let him win at everything. They also enjoyed playing tennis together on the university courts. The friendship slowly began to change during their second year when they moved into a shared house with two other friends. Catherine would cook meals for the group while William did the washing up. They discovered they both loved watching movies late at night and would often fall asleep on the sofa together. Their housemates noticed the way William looked at Catherine when she was not watching. The moment that changed everything happened during a university fashion show in March 2002. Catherine had agreed to model in a charity event to raise money for student causes. She walked down the runway wearing a see-through black dress over a bandeau top and black shorts. William was sitting in the front row with friends and his jaw dropped when he saw her. He later told friends that he knew in that moment that Catherine was not just a friend. After the fashion show, William began asking Catherine on proper dates. They would go to small restaurants in the town where they could talk privately. Catherine learned that behind his royal title, William was funny and kind but also worried about his future responsibilities. He told her about missing his mother and feeling pressure to live up to expectations. Catherine listened without judging and offered quiet support. Their relationship had to remain secret because of media attention. They developed code names when talking on the phone and would meet in quiet corners of the university library. Catherine learned to enter buildings through back doors and wear baseball caps to avoid being photographed. The stress of hiding their relationship was difficult, but it also brought them closer together. By their third year, everyone at university knew they were dating, but they managed to keep it private from the outside world. Catherine would attend William's polo matches and cheer from the sidelines. William would help Catherine with her art history essays, though she was usually smarter than him about the subjects she studied. The couple faced their first major test when newspapers finally discovered their relationship in 2004. Photographers followed Catherine to her job at a clothing store and camped outside her family home. She handled the attention with grace and dignity, never complaining or giving interviews. William was impressed by how strong she remained under pressure. As graduation approached in 2005, both William and Catherine wondered what would happen next. Their university love story had grown into something deeper and more serious. Catherine had proven she could handle the pressures of dating a future king, while William had found someone who loved him for who he was rather than what he represented. The crisp October morning in 2010 found Prince William and Catherine on a romantic holiday in Kenya, staying at a beautiful lodge overlooking Lake Rutundu. The location was perfect for what William had been planning for months. High in the mountains of Mount Kenya, surrounded by clear blue skies and stunning views, he knew this was where he wanted to ask the most important question of his life. William had been carrying his mother's engagement ring in his backpack for weeks. The famous sapphire ring surrounded by diamonds had been chosen by Princess Diana in 1981 from a catalog of royal jewels. After Diana's death in 1997, both William and his brother Harry had been given items from their mother's jewelry collection. William had specifically chosen this ring because he wanted his mother to be part of his marriage in some way. Catherine had no idea what was coming. She was enjoying their vacation and taking photographs of the incredible African landscape. They had been together for nearly 9 years, with a brief break in 2007 that had made both of them realize how much they meant to each other. Since getting back together, their relationship had been stronger than ever, but William had never given any hints about marriage. The couple went for a long walk around the lake, talking about their future plans and enjoying the peaceful surroundings. William was unusually quiet and seemed nervous, which Catherine noticed but didn't think too much about. They had faced many pressures together over the years, and she was used to seeing him worry about various royal duties and responsibilities. When they reached a particularly beautiful spot with views across the valley, William suddenly stopped walking. Catherine turned to see him getting down on one knee, pulling out a small blue box from his jacket pocket. Her hands flew to her mouth in shock as he opened the box to reveal the stunning sapphire ring that had once belonged to his beloved mother. William's voice shook slightly as he asked Catherine to marry him. He told her that he had been planning this moment for months and that he could not imagine spending his life with anyone else. He wanted her to be his wife, his partner in royal duties, and eventually his queen. The proposal was simple but heartfelt, with no fancy speeches or elaborate gestures, just two people in love in one of the most beautiful places on earth. Catherine said yes through happy tears, and William slipped the ring onto her finger with trembling hands. They hugged and kissed while looking out over the stunning African landscape, both realizing that this moment would change their lives forever. The ring fit perfectly, as if it had been waiting all these years to find its new home on Catherine's hand. They spent the rest of their holiday planning how to announce their engagement to the world. William called his father Prince Charles and his grandmother Queen Elizabeth to share the happy news. Both were delighted and gave their full blessing to the marriage. Catherine called her parents Michael and Carol Middleton, who were overjoyed but also slightly overwhelmed by the thought of their daughter becoming a future queen. The couple returned to London and spent several days preparing for the public announcement. They practiced for interviews and photo sessions, knowing that the world's media would be intensely interested in every detail of their engagement. Catherine studied royal protocol and began learning about the enormous changes that would come with marrying into the royal family. On November 16, 2010, Clarence House officially announced the engagement of Prince William and Miss Catherine Middleton. The news spread around the world within minutes, with television stations interrupting regular programming to share the announcement. Church bells rang across Britain, and congratulations poured in from world leaders and ordinary people alike. The engagement ring became an instant sensation, with jewelry stores around the world receiving requests for copies. The fact that it had belonged to Princess Diana made it even more special to the public, who saw it as a symbol of continuity and hope for the royal family's future. The morning of April 29, 2011 dawned bright and clear in London, as if nature itself wanted to provide the perfect backdrop for the most watched wedding in decades. Westminster Abbey had been transformed into a fairy tale setting with towering arrangements of white flowers and green foliage. 8 maple trees lined the aisle, creating a natural cathedral within the ancient church that had witnessed royal weddings for nearly 1,000 years. Catherine woke up early at the Goring Hotel near Buckingham Palace, where she had spent her last night as a commoner. Her wedding dress hung in the corner of the room, covered in white sheets to keep it secret from the world until the moment she stepped out of her car. The dress had been designed by Sarah Burton at Alexander McQueen and had taken months to create, with intricate lace details and a 9-foot train that would flow behind her as she walked down the aisle. Outside the hotel, crowds of people had been camping overnight to catch a glimpse of the bride. Many had traveled from around the world just to be part of this historic day. They waved British flags and sang songs while waiting patiently behind barriers. Police officers smiled and chatted with the excited crowd, caught up in the joyful atmosphere that had taken over the entire city. At Clarence House, Prince William was getting ready with his brother Prince Harry, who was serving as his best man. William had chosen to wear the red uniform of the Irish Guards, complete with a blue sash and golden sword. His hands were shaking slightly as Harry helped him adjust his collar and medals. The two brothers had always been close, and Harry kept William calm by telling jokes and sharing memories from their childhood. Queen Elizabeth I arrived at Westminster Abbey wearing a bright yellow outfit and hat, her choice of color bringing sunshine to the already glorious day. She took her seat in the front row and smiled warmly at the assembled guests, which included kings and queens from around the world, presidents and prime ministers, celebrities and friends of the couple, and ordinary people who had won tickets in a lottery. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived when Catherine stepped out of a Rolls-Royce car with her father, Michael Middleton. The crowd gasped as they saw her wedding dress for the first time. The ivory silk gown with long lace sleeves was both traditional and modern, elegant without being too fancy. Her hair was styled in a half-up, half-down style with a diamond tiara borrowed from Queen Elizabeth, and she carried a simple bouquet of white flowers. As Catherine walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey, 2 billion people around the world watched on television. Her father held her arm proudly while her sister Pippa, serving as maid of honor, helped arrange her long train. The abbey fell silent except for the sound of her footsteps and the gentle music playing in the background. Every eye was on the bride as she moved gracefully toward her future. William turned to watch his bride approach, and his face lit up with the biggest smile anyone had ever seen from him. He whispered to Catherine that she looked beautiful, causing her to blush and smile back. When Michael Middleton placed Catherine's hand in William's, he was officially giving his daughter to the future King of England, a moment that felt both intimate and historic. The Archbishop of Canterbury performed the ceremony using words that had been spoken at royal weddings for centuries. William and Catherine exchanged vows promising to love and honor each other in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, as long as they both lived. Their voices were clear and strong, showing no signs of nervousness as they made these sacred promises before God and the world. When the Archbishop pronounced them husband and wife, Prince William became the Duke of Cambridge and Catherine became the Duchess of Cambridge. They signed the marriage register in a private ceremony, while a choir sang beautiful hymns that filled the ancient abbey with glorious music. The newlyweds walked back down the aisle together as the congregation sang the national anthem. Catherine's train flowed behind her like a river of silk, while William walked proudly beside his new wife. They had successfully completed the first part of their wedding day, but the world was waiting for the moment that would make their marriage official in the eyes of the public. The couple traveled from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace in an open horse-drawn carriage, waving to the hundreds of thousands of people lining the streets of London. When they appeared on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, the crowd below roared with approval. The kiss they shared on that balcony was seen by people all over the world and marked the beginning of their life together as a married couple and future king and queen. After their spectacular wedding, Prince William and Catherine settled into married life in a way that surprised many royal watchers. Instead of moving into a grand palace, they chose a modest farmhouse called Bodorgan Hall on the Welsh island of Anglesey. William was working as a search and rescue helicopter pilot with the Royal Air Force, and Catherine wanted to support his career while learning how to be a royal wife away from the constant attention of London. Their home on Anglesey was simple by royal standards, with just 4 bedrooms and a kitchen where Catherine enjoyed cooking meals for her husband. She would drive to the local supermarket in her own car, wearing jeans and casual clothes, shopping for groceries just like any other newlywed. The local people grew used to seeing the future queen buying milk and bread, and they respected her privacy by treating her like a normal neighbor. Catherine threw herself into learning about royal duties while maintaining as normal a life as possible. She studied the history of the monarchy and practiced giving speeches, knowing that one day she would need these skills as queen. But she also learned to fly fish, took long walks on the beach with William, and hosted dinner parties for his fellow RAF pilots and their wives. The couple's first major test came when they announced that Catherine was expecting their first child in December 2012. The pregnancy was difficult at first, with severe morning sickness that required hospital treatment. William was incredibly protective of his wife, taking time off work to care for her and making sure she had complete privacy during the worst days of her illness. Prince George Alexander Louis was born on July 22, 2013, at the same hospital where William had been born 31 years earlier. William was present for the birth and later said it was the most amazing and terrifying experience of his life. When they emerged from the hospital the next day, Catherine looked radiant in a blue polka dot dress, while William carried their son in a car seat, his hands shaking slightly with nerves and excitement. The new parents were determined to raise their son as normally as possible while preparing him for his future role as king. William changed diapers and got up for midnight feedings, something that previous generations of royal fathers had never done. Catherine insisted on doing the night feeds herself whenever possible, wanting to bond with her baby in those quiet early morning hours. When George was just 9 months old, William and Catherine took him on his first official royal tour to Australia and New Zealand. The trip was a huge success, with George charming everyone he met despite being too young to understand what was happening. Catherine carried him during official events and let him play on blankets during outdoor ceremonies, showing the world that royal babies could be part of official duties without losing their childhood innocence. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana was born on May 2, 2015, making George a big brother and completing what many people thought would be the couple's family. Charlotte was named after her grandfather, Prince Charles, and her late grandmother, Princess Diana, honoring both sides of her royal heritage. She proved to be a confident and outgoing baby who loved attention and seemed to pose naturally for photographs. The family of 4 moved back to London when William finished his military service, settling into apartment 1A at Kensington Palace. Despite living in a palace, Catherine insisted on maintaining normal family routines. She did the school run for George, taking him to his nursery school in her own car and chatting with other parents at the school gates. In April 2018, the couple welcomed their 3rd child, Prince Louis Arthur Charles. With 3 young children, Catherine and William had to master the art of juggling royal duties with family life. They were often seen at public events with one child on Catherine's hip and another holding William's hand, showing that being royal parents in the modern world meant bringing children along rather than leaving them with nannies. The couple made a conscious decision to give their children experiences that previous royal children had missed. They took George, Charlotte, and Louis to normal places like soft play centers, pizza restaurants, and public playgrounds. Catherine was photographed pushing swings and going down slides with her children, while William taught them to play football in Kensington Palace Gardens. Family holidays became adventures rather than formal royal retreats. They went skiing in the French Alps, staying in modest chalets rather than luxury resorts. They spent summers in Norfolk, where the children could run free on the beach and climb trees. These holidays gave George, Charlotte, and Louis the chance to be normal children while learning about their future responsibilities through the example of their parents. As their children grew older, William and Catherine began preparing them for royal life by taking them to carefully chosen public events. George attended his first Wimbledon tennis match and showed proper etiquette while clearly enjoying the excitement. Charlotte charmed everyone at her first royal wedding, confidently waving to crowds while holding her mother's hand. As Queen Elizabeth II entered her 90s, Prince William and Catherine began taking on more significant royal duties that would prepare them for their future roles as king and queen. The transition was gradual but purposeful, with the couple proving themselves capable of representing Britain with dignity and effectiveness on the world stage. Their first major solo overseas tour as senior royals took them to Canada in 2016, where they were greeted by enormous crowds and widespread enthusiasm. Catherine had spent months preparing for the trip, studying Canadian history and culture, learning about political issues, and practicing her public speaking skills. She wore outfits that subtly honored Canadian symbols, including a stunning red and white dress that echoed the colors of the Canadian flag. William impressed everyone with his natural ability to connect with people from all walks of life. During visits to homeless shelters, he would sit on the floor to talk with people at eye level, listening to their stories with genuine interest and concern. At children's hospitals, He would joke with young patients and make them laugh, temporarily helping them forget their troubles. His military training had taught him discipline and leadership, qualities that served him well in royal duties. Catherine discovered her own strengths as a working royal, particularly in her ability to make people feel comfortable and valued. During visits to schools, she would sit cross-legged on the floor with children, asking them about their dreams and encouraging them to work hard. Her background in art history proved useful when visiting museums and cultural sites, where she could engage in meaningful conversations about exhibits and their historical importance. The couple chose to focus their charitable work on causes that reflected their personal values and experiences. Mental health became a major priority after William's own struggles following his military service and his mother's death. They launched the Heads Together campaign, encouraging people to talk openly about mental health issues and seek help when needed. Their willingness to discuss their own challenges helped break down barriers and reduce the stigma around mental health problems. Catherine developed a particular interest in early childhood development, supporting organizations that helped children in their first 5 years of life. She spent time learning about child psychology and brain development, often visiting research centers and playgroups to understand how best to support families. Her work in this area was not just ceremonial, but involved real study and commitment to making a difference. Their overseas tours became increasingly important diplomatic missions. In Poland and Germany, they represented Britain's commitment to European relationships despite political tensions. In Pakistan, Catherine wore traditional Pakistani clothing and visited projects that supported women's education, showing respect for local culture while promoting British values. These trips required careful preparation and cultural sensitivity, skills that would be essential when they became king and queen. The couple learned to balance their public duties with their private family life, often bringing their children on official tours when appropriate. During a visit to Germany, Prince George and Princess Charlotte charmed everyone they met, helping to strengthen diplomatic relationships through their innocent enthusiasm. These family appearances showed the human side of the royal family and helped people connect with them on a personal level. William and Catherine also took on more responsibilities within Britain, supporting charities and organizations across the country. They would often spend entire days visiting different projects in a single city, meeting with volunteers, beneficiaries, and local officials. These visits required stamina and genuine interest, as they would have dozens of conversations and remember hundreds of names and faces. Their work began to focus on issues that would define their future reign. Environmental conservation became increasingly important to William, who established the Earthshot Prize to encourage innovative solutions to climate change. Catherine supported organizations working to prevent addiction and help families affected by substance abuse. Together, they were developing expertise in areas that would help them serve effectively as future monarchs. The couple's approach to royal duties was notably different from previous generations. They were more informal and accessible, willing to show emotion and vulnerability when appropriate. Catherine would often hug children and elderly people during visits, while William would roll up his sleeves and participate in activities rather than just observing. This modern approach helped make the monarchy more relatable to ordinary people. As they took on more senior roles, William and Catherine had to master the complex world of royal protocol while maintaining their authentic personalities. They learned when to follow tradition exactly and when they could adapt ceremonies to fit modern expectations. This balance between respect for history and relevance to contemporary life would become a defining characteristic of their future reign. Their growing confidence and competence in royal duties earned them respect from government officials, charitable organizations, and the general public. They were no longer seen as the young couple who had married in a fairy tale wedding, but as serious working royals who were preparing thoughtfully and effectively for the enormous responsibilities that awaited them as king and queen. The afternoon of September 8, 2022 began like any other day for Prince William and Catherine, but it would end as one of the most significant days in their lives. They were at Windsor Castle with their children when the call came from Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Queen Elizabeth II, who had been unwell for several months, was declining rapidly, and all senior family members needed to come immediately. William flew to Scotland with other family members, but Catherine remained in Windsor with their children, who were just starting a new school term. The decision was made that the children should maintain their normal routine while the adults dealt with the family crisis. Catherine spent the evening helping George, Charlotte, and Louis with their homework, all while knowing that their lives were about to change forever. The news of Queen Elizabeth's death at age 96 was announced to the world at 6:30 that evening. Immediately, William's father became King Charles II, and William automatically became heir to the throne with the title Prince of Wales. Catherine became the Princess of Wales, a title that carried enormous significance as it had last been held by Princess Diana, William's beloved mother. The weight of their new positions hit them immediately. William was now first in line to the throne, meaning that every decision he made would be scrutinized as preparation for his future reign. Catherine was now the future queen, a role that would require her to be a support system for her husband, while also serving as a role model for women around the world. Their first public appearance as the Prince and Princess of Wales came just 2 days after the Queen's death, when they joined King Charles II and Queen Consort Camilla to greet the crowds outside Buckingham Palace. William wore a dark suit and looked somber but composed, while Catherine chose a simple black dress that showed respect for the mourning period while maintaining her elegant style. The couple spent the following days learning about their new responsibilities, while also helping their children understand what had happened. George, at age 9, was old enough to understand that his great-grandmother had died and that his father was now closer to becoming king. Charlotte and Louis, being younger, needed more explanation about why everyone was so sad and why there were so many flowers outside the palaces. During Queen Elizabeth's funeral, William and Catherine walked behind the coffin as it was carried through Westminster Abbey. The ceremony was watched by billions of people around the world, and William's composed demeanor throughout the emotional service showed his readiness for the responsibilities ahead. Catherine's presence beside him provided visible support, demonstrating the partnership that would define their future reign. After the funeral, the couple had to adjust to their new roles while maintaining their family life. William began receiving more detailed briefings about government affairs and Commonwealth issues, preparing for the day when he would need to give royal assent to laws and meet with world leaders as king. Catherine studied the histories of previous queens, learning about their contributions and challenges. Their official duties expanded significantly as they took on patronages and responsibilities that had previously belonged to Queen Elizabeth II. William became involved in environmental issues on a global scale, using his higher profile to push for action on climate change. Catherine focused on her early childhood development work, but now with the platform to influence government policy and international cooperation. The couple began making subtle changes to royal traditions, modernizing ceremonies while maintaining their essential dignity and meaning. They were more accessible to the media and public, understanding that the monarchy needed to remain relevant to survive in the modern world. Their approach balanced respect for tradition with the need to connect with contemporary society. William and Catherine also had to prepare their children for their changed circumstances. Prince George, now second in line to the throne, would need additional education about his future role. Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis would need to understand their supporting roles in the royal family, while also being encouraged to develop their own interests and personalities. The couple's relationship was tested by the increased pressure and scrutiny that came with their new positions. They had to learn to support each other through the demands of royal life, while also maintaining their marriage and family relationships. Their strong foundation, built over more than 20 years together, helped them navigate these challenges. As Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine represented the future of the monarchy. Their every action was watched for clues about how they would rule when their time came. They carried themselves with dignity and purpose, showing that they understood the gravity of their positions, while also demonstrating the warmth and accessibility that would characterize their future reign. The crown was now closer than ever before, and every day brought new preparation for the moment when William would become king and Catherine would be crowned as his queen. The weight of history and the expectations of millions of people rested on their shoulders, but they faced the future with confidence, knowing that they had each other and the support of their family to help them serve their country with honor and distinction. Behind the closed doors of Windsor Castle and Kensington Palace, Prince William and Catherine began the most important preparation of their lives. The coronation ceremony that would one day transform them from prince and princess into king and queen required months of careful planning and practice. Every detail had to be perfect because the eyes of the world would be watching when that sacred moment arrived. William started his preparation by studying hours of video footage from previous coronations, particularly focusing on his grandfather King George VI's ceremony in 1937 and his grandmother Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. He watched how they carried themselves, how they moved in heavy robes, and how they handled the most solemn moments of the ceremony. The weight of tradition and expectation was overwhelming, but William knew he had to master every aspect of the ancient ritual. The most challenging part of his preparation involved learning to wear the Stedward's crown, the solid gold crown that weighs nearly 5 pounds and would sit on his head during the most sacred part of the ceremony. William practiced wearing it for hours at a time, learning to move his head carefully and gracefully despite its weight. The crown had been worn by kings for centuries, and feeling its weight on his head made the reality of his future role impossible to ignore. Catherine faced her own unique challenges in preparing for her coronation as queen consort. She studied the ceremonies of previous queens, learning about their roles and responsibilities during the coronation service. Unlike William, who would be crowned with the ancient Stedward's crown, Catherine would wear a different crown, possibly the Queen Mother's crown, or a newly created piece that would reflect her personal style while honoring tradition. The couple worked with the Archbishop of Canterbury to understand the religious significance of every part of the ceremony. The coronation is not just a political event, but a sacred service that connects the monarch to God and to the long history of Christian kingship in Britain. William and Catherine spent hours discussing the meaning of the ancient prayers and rituals, ensuring they understood the spiritual commitment they would be making. Catherine began working with designers to plan her coronation gown, a dress that would need to be both beautiful and practical for the long ceremony. The gown would need to accommodate the heavy ceremonial robes that would be placed over it, while also being elegant enough for one of the most photographed moments in history. Every detail, from the fabric to the embroidery, carried symbolic meaning that had to be carefully considered. The couple also had to prepare for the physical demands of the ceremony, which would last several hours and require them to stand, walk, and kneel at specific moments. They practiced the movements repeatedly, learning to coordinate their actions with the music and prayers. William had to master the complex choreography of receiving the various symbols of kingship, while Catherine learned her own part in the ceremony. Westminster Abbey, where the coronation would take place, became a second home to William and Catherine during their preparation. They visited the ancient church repeatedly, walking through the ceremony step by step and familiarizing themselves with every detail of the space. Standing in the same spot where kings and queens had been crowned for nearly 1,000 years filled them with both awe and determination. The couple had to decide which members of their family would have special roles in the ceremony. Prince George, as the future heir, would likely have an important part to play, while Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis would need to be prepared for their first major royal ceremony. The children would need their own preparation to understand the significance of what they would witness. William and Catherine also worked with protocol experts to plan the celebrations that would follow the coronation. The procession from Westminster Abbey back to Buckingham Palace would be watched by millions of people lining the streets of London. They practiced waving and smiling while maintaining the dignity appropriate for such a solemn occasion. The couple studied the guest list carefully, understanding that their coronation would bring together world leaders, royal families, and representatives from across the Commonwealth. They would need to greet hundreds of people personally, remembering names, and making each guest feel welcomed and honored to be part of this historic moment. Security preparations were enormous, with every aspect of the ceremony planned to ensure the safety of the royal family and their guests. William and Catherine had to learn to trust their security teams completely while also maintaining the accessibility that had characterized their public roles. The balance between openness and protection would be crucial on Coronation Day. As their preparation continued, William and Catherine drew strength from their faith, their love for each other, and their commitment to serve their country. They knew that the coronation would mark the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one that would require everything they had learned about duty, service, and leadership. The months of preparation were intense and sometimes overwhelming, but they also brought William and Catherine closer together. They were preparing not just for a ceremony, but for a lifetime of service as king and queen. Every practice session, every fitting, and every meeting with advisors was building toward the moment when they would stand before God and their people and accept the greatest responsibility in their nation's history. Though the actual day of their coronation remains in the future, Prince William and Catherine continue to live each day as preparation for the moment when they will embody the true splendor of the British monarchy. Every royal engagement, every charitable visit, and every public appearance serves as practice for the greater responsibilities that await them as King and Queen of England and the Commonwealth realms. Their daily routine has evolved to balance the demands of royal duty with the needs of their growing family. William begins most mornings reviewing briefing papers about government affairs, international relations, and the various organizations he supports as patron. Catherine starts her days by getting their 3 children ready for school, maintaining the normal family routine that keeps them grounded despite their extraordinary circumstances. Prince George, now approaching his teenage years, has begun to understand more clearly what his future holds. His parents have started including him in age-appropriate royal duties, teaching him about the history and traditions he will one day inherit. Charlotte and Louis continue to attend regular school and participate in normal childhood activities, but they too are learning about their special place in British society. The couple's approach to royal duties continues to modernize the monarchy while respecting its ancient traditions. William has become a leading voice on environmental issues, using his platform to advocate for urgent action on climate change. His Earthshot Prize has become a global initiative that encourages innovation and recognizes breakthrough solutions to environmental challenges. Catherine has established herself as a thoughtful advocate for early childhood development, commissioning research and supporting programs that help children in their most formative years. Her work has influenced government policy and changed how society thinks about the importance of the first 5 years of life. Her royal foundation continues to grow and evolve, preparing for the day when she will have even greater influence as queen. Their overseas tours have become increasingly significant diplomatic missions that strengthen Britain's relationships around the world. Recent visits to Caribbean Commonwealth countries, Asian nations, and European allies have showcased their ability to represent Britain with dignity and effectiveness. These trips serve as rehearsals for the global leadership role they will assume as king and queen. The couple has also begun taking a more prominent role in major state occasions and family celebrations. Their presence at state banquets, diplomatic receptions, and ceremonial events demonstrates their readiness to step into the most formal aspects of royal life. They have mastered the complex protocols while maintaining their authentic personalities and warmth. William and Catherine's marriage remains strong despite the pressures of royal life and public scrutiny. They continue to support each other through challenges and celebrate each other's successes. Their partnership has become a model for how modern royals can balance personal happiness with public service, showing that duty and love can work together rather than in opposition. Their preparation for kingship and queenship includes studying the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, learning from her successes and understanding the challenges she faced. They have analyzed how the monarchy evolved during her 70-year reign and how they can continue that evolution to ensure the institution remains relevant and respected. The couple regularly visits Commonwealth countries to strengthen those relationships and understand the diverse cultures and needs of the nations they will one day serve as head of the Commonwealth. These visits have deepened their appreciation for the complexity of their future role and the importance of listening to different perspectives and experiences. As they await their coronation day, William and Catherine continue to refine their vision for their future reign. They want to lead a monarchy that serves all people, regardless of background or circumstances. Their focus on mental health, environmental protection, and early childhood development reflects their commitment to addressing the challenges facing modern society. The couple has also worked to ensure that their coronation, when it comes, will be both magnificent and accessible. They want the ceremony to honor tradition while being relevant to contemporary Britain and the modern Commonwealth. Plans are being developed to make the event more inclusive and representative of the diverse society they will serve. Their children are being prepared gradually for the moment when their father becomes king and their lives change dramatically. George understands that he will one day be king himself, while Charlotte and Louis are learning about their important supporting roles in the royal family. All three children are being raised to understand both their privileges and their responsibilities. When coronation day finally arrives, Westminster Abbey will once again witness the ancient ceremony that transforms ordinary people into anointed monarchs. William will enter the Abbey as the Prince of Wales and emerge as King William V, while Catherine will be crowned as Queen Catherine, taking her place among the great queens of British history. The moment they are crowned will mark not just a personal transformation, but the beginning of a new era for the British monarchy. Their reign will build on the foundation established by Queen Elizabeth I, while addressing the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. Together, King William and Queen Catherine will embody the true coronation splendor that connects Britain's glorious past with its promising future, serving their people with the dignity, compassion, and dedication that the crown demands and the people deserve.